The sands of time wait for no one. You may have delayed your destiny, but you
Uh-oh.
watch your step.
On top of me again? How much honor? 5,000 honor still. We have too much damage reduction. Oh, right. We got another one. Another time lost diamond. We got 5 of them. We've done it. Okay. I don't understand. The timer is going down. I'm killing everything, but the timer is going down. Okay, it's going up again. Okay, yeah, the difficulty. You can feel the difficulty increase. "25 seconds. Yeah, this is definitely different than the first 2 times. Okay. Yeah, this goes a little bit different than the first few times. Let's go. How much time is it gonna take to kill the? It's not the highest difficulty breach boss yet, but second highest difficulty. Where is he? What is going on? What? Can you just come back and fight me, bro? Woo! Okay. And then we unleash.
The sands of time wait for no one. You possess a modicum of skill. Well, the hour grows late.
Ah! Misclick. Oops. I have so much honor. Okay. That wasn't even close. We have 6.3 thousand honor left. There we go, another diamond. Hey everybody, it's time for an update on the Orbital Cannon Infernalist build that we've been running. With low life, max crit, like 7x the crit on every single comet. Basically, we have turned Path of Exile 2 into a walking simulator. We can just walk around without actively casting anything, just right-clicking with our barrier invocation and generating more barrier invocation energy than we are expending with every single click, as long as we wait long enough for our energy shield to recover. What does that mean? Basically, once every, let's say, second or so, we get to cast 2-3 comets. And if we're patient enough, and if we use our potions as well, we can turn boss fights into 7, 8, I don't even know how many comets per second. You've seen the footage against boss fights. And by the way, against that last map boss fight, the tier 15 map, I forgot to cast my frostbite. So it should have been a lot smoother than even it showed over there. So how do we achieve this build? What is the trick here? In the last build guide, I went in great detail on the math of barrier invocation, and I'll showcase it here one more time because we have finally hit critical mass. You can see we have barrier invocation, max energy 900 thanks to capacitor, and hit damage required to gain 1 energy is 5, so we need to take 5 energy shield damage to gain 1 energy, and comet requires 300 energy, which means at max energy we can cast 3 comets. They get duplicated by the spell echo, so that's why you can see 6 of them. But 3 comets at 900 energy. So each comet costing 300 energy means that if we can create or generate enough energy shield self-damage, we can sustain this indefinitely without casting anything, because comet requires mana, so that can proc our Infernal Flame over max. And then that can proc our self-damage. And that is what we're doing here. We're not casting anything. Look, no hands, man. Right click only. No left click, no Eye of Winter, nothing other than just barrier invocation. So the math works out such that in order to cast 1 comet, we need 1500 energy shield damage, self-damage. With enough energy gain modifier, with what we have right now, 205, we need to take 1500 energy shield damage divided by 3.05 because of the energy gain modifier, which translates to we need to take 492 energy shield damage on every single cast of, or every single proc of Infernal Flame self-damage. And just as a reminder, the way that Pyromagnetic Pact works, you take max life and max energy as fire damage when Infernal Flame reaches maximum. We have 90% fire res, so we take 10% of the sum of these two numbers as energy shield damage, preferably, unless energy shield runs out, of course. And 10% of the sum of these two numbers, life and energy shield totals, is 4,974. And that means we're going to take 497 energy shield damage every time we right click, as long as there is energy shield to be taken away from. And 497 energy shield damage is more than the 492 that we require in order to sustain this indefinitely. So we have reached critical mass where we can just walk around and right click and then wait a little bit, right click again. And you can even notice, even though, let me show you here, even though we're at 67% energy shield or barrier invocation energy, that should translate to 2 comets. However, the way that barrier invocation works is it procs the mana cost before it triggers the actual spells. So it ends up proccing 3 comets. You can see 3 times 2, 6 comets, because the Infernal Flame hits us, takes the energy shield damage, which generates another 33% barrier invocation energy, and it makes it exactly 3 comets. So that is how you run this build. I finally made it work, made the dream come true of 300 energy plus the barrier invocation. So let me show you some of my jewels. This is how we get to that point. Critical point is meta skill gains energy jewels. Those are absolutely essential to the build. You can see I have quite a few, almost in every single jewel slot. This is a fancy jewel with a lot of crit damage. You can see I'm running quite a bit of meta energy generation. I even switched these 3 points, which I absolutely love these 3 points, into these three, which give us an extra 15 energy generation. And this is what pushed us over the edge. But also we get 68% damage to our meteors, comets. That's quite substantial as well. It's more than the 50 we get against Frozen. And Frozen is actually not something we have 100% uptime on. So overall, I do think this is probably better. I just need to... I worry a little bit about the enemy resistance negation. We do run Frostbite against bosses. Against non-bosses, though, I'm not sure that we're going to perform as well versus high cold resistance elites, let's say. But yeah, that's basically the tree right now. I did switch some stuff from the flasks here for an extra jewel as well. I do think for the next 4 points, I would like to get this flask node. 40% flask duration is going to be quite powerful. You can see, like I already showcased in the build guide, a flask is 2,500 energy shield per second for 3 seconds. And we have the quality added to the flask now, so that's how we pushed it up a little bit higher. And given that every comet costs 500 energy shield self-damage, 2,500 energy shield is 5 comets. So 1 extra seconds of the potion can make a big difference in those extended boss fights. You noticed a lot of the boss fights I showcased, we really don't need that extra second. We don't even need 75 charges here. But there will be some tougher bosses where I'm sure we'll need the potion charges and the duration extension. Even for mapping, an extra second for the potion I think would make a big difference. So I do believe this is the next step for me. Level 97 though is going to be steep to get to that point. There's one flex point I could switch 10 life regen into getting this at 96, but 10 life regen is nice. I also would like to get this one, so level 98 I could hit this one. As you can see, we are at 840 life recovery per second while standing still. Other than that, for item upgrades, I do believe since the video I updated the gloves, so these are slightly better. You can see 2 of the affixes are actually trash. 3 of the affixes rather are trash for us. I switched all the jewels to life, percent life. I upgraded the chest piece. Now it is maxed out, 49% Phys conversion to fire. That's absolute max. And now we're hitting that 49 plus 20, 69, almost 70% Phys damage reduction. And speaking of which, this could be a good anoint for us because it does convert Phys damage to a random element. So we could bring that 69 to 74% Phys damage reduction. So we're extremely tanky. This is one of the tankiest builds in the game. There's a reason why most of the hardcore ladder is Infernalists running Cloak of Flame, likely with Rise of Phoenix. I'm not sure. I haven't followed the meta too much, but I'm sure they're running Cloak of Flame. Infernalist with Cloak of Flame is just insane. And hitting 90% fire res. So one of the tankiest builds in the game. Even with 25% of life being reserved, we're still incredibly tanky. You can see we have more than 4,000 between the energy shield and life. Even though the energy shield yo-yos up and down a little bit, but I still want to upgrade my belt a little bit. This one is kind of mediocre. It's decent, but this is like a 1 exalt belt, by the way. And that's something else I want to highlight. If you just want to get the basic 40% Phys damage Silk Robe here, the Cloak of Flames, and a basic shield without the corrupted bonuses, and this belt, these are 3 exalts total. If you just get these 3 uniques, we can grab them for 3 exalts. This is a very cheap build to put together. I think I got a ring upgrade perhaps from the last video I posted. Helmet, maybe. I can't remember. I think boots are definitely upgraded. So yeah, I'm going to be heading towards probably more magic find in the near future. And just grabbing very small marginal upgrades at this point. I'm quite sad that my cold res is not maxed out. And that's something I would like GG to address. There's not much flexibility in our itemization and just ways to move a little bit of res here and there. Like for example, this 15 fire res I have in my helmet. If only I could switch it to 15 cold res, my build would be perfect. I have, 33 more fire res than I need. So I have a lot of room to work with that there. But, oh, we also got Grinning Immolation since the last video. And that is how we have Comet at 61% crit chance. And by the way, you want pretty much exactly 60% here. Because with Eye of Winter's critical weakness, 60% crit here with the 20% quality means you have 100% crit chance at 10 stacks of critical weakness, or 20 stacks of critical weakness. And then the crit damage bonus, I'm running 617 crit damage bonus. That means every single comet is worth 7 non-critting comets. 7x the damage, and given the 100% crit chance, this is how we get such insane DPS against bosses. This average damage per use is a bit deceptive. There are many bonuses that are conditional on casting, on enemies being frozen and stuff, so don't look at it too much. But I did upgrade. I got my 6 link. I'm running more area effect. This is great for mapping. And then what you do for bosses is you have the concentrated effect gem as well, and you just swap them like that, and now you have your boss set up. And Frostwall, I mean, I have it here, but I'm never really casting it, so it's a very handy gem holder, support gem holder for us, so it holds our concentrated effect. Great utility from Frostwall right there. We're also running Overwhelming Presence. This is nice against bosses just to get them to freeze a little bit faster, but it's not a must-have. We could easily drop that and then we would have 43 spirit. Same with Grim Feast. You could drop that too and we would have 73 spirit. So we have a lot of spirit to work with. I suspect by the time we're done min-maxing, we should easily get this to 230 max spirit. Maybe even 235, 240 if we optimize absolutely just like perfect items in every slot. And that is a lot of spirit to work with. So we could try running different cast on whatever, or I guess if we're running monos and we're just casting barrier invocation, that should not proc anything, but still we can try running different auras. It's worth playing around with a bunch of them. But otherwise on the skill gems, there's not too many changes. For my next upgrade on the itemization side, I'm probably looking for something that fixes my cold res. That is my #1 priority right now. It's very scary not to run max cold res. Things can freeze you, and that's just the worst thing you can imagine. And I'm going to be testing the build against other bosses. You already saw Sanctum is trivial. I cannot fail it if I've tried. The Ultimatum is just as trivial. Breaches are super easy. You saw the Breach boss dying as well. That was Breach tier 4. I even tanked a bunch of his hits. You can see I'm not that great mechanically. That's why we gotta make the best builds ever, and we gotta be able to optimize and min-max builds in order to compensate for that mechanical failure. But yeah, we're gonna be testing it in Simulacrum. We're gonna be testing it in some of those Citadels, just to see how we perform against various different content in the game. Anyway, if you want to see more detail on the build, make sure to check out my previous video as well. I went into a lot more detail on the passive skill tree, and then I have a link as well in the description to the Mobalytics build guide if you want to copy the passive tree there. And if you want to check out our progress and how we do versus various endgame content, check out the stream, tune in, and enjoy. And with that, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this video. Take it easy and go chiso. Samarasha.